You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And today we get to our house call editions of the show. So always love checking in with you, checking in with your questions that you've had throughout the week. Again, sometimes it might just take a week or two for us to get to them, but we always do. Simply go to stephencabral.com/ask Cabral, and I will absolutely answer each and every one of them. And a lot of times they're like their own little mini 4 or 5 minute episode. So do feel free to, of course, ask your questions, but also make sure you tune in, because this is like getting 3 episodes of the Cabral Concept in just one show. I just make them a little bit shorter when I can, and that hopefully gives people the answers that they've been looking for. Because really, when you ask the questions here in the Cabral Concept, you're going to get an honest answer. You're going to get an answer where I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm not trying to sell anything. Of course, I might actually review a product that I believe is best for you, but that's obviously what I feel is in your best interest. This is me literally answering your questions just as I would, at a barbecue in the backyard, where family members and friends are just always giving me their best questions, and I'm always happy to answer these questions. I'm on call 24 hours a day, so I'm happy to do that. All right, so let's get into this first question. The first question is from Robert. He's asking about the fork question. He said, is this always necessary to use? So if you don't know what the fork test is, it's this. So essentially, what I talked about in, let's see what episode it was, episode 129. It was a Total Wellness Tuesday. If you didn't check out that episode just about last week, I believe, it's called the fork test. And it talks about how you can dramatically improve your digestion and bloating, overall energy and fatigue by doing this one simple thing. It's something that I literally just came about. I don't know if it's ever been talked about before, but I told a lot of my digestive-based wellness clients that come in, here's how you can start feeling better right away. Anything you put on your plate, it should be able to be smushed just by pushing a fork down on it gently. So that means something like a cooked carrot or cooked celery, or you could put fish or eggs or anything like that. Those things can be squished pretty easily. Again, you're going to use, if you're a vegan, you're not going to eat those types of protein foods. But if you're a vegetarian or if you're strictly paleo, you're going to look at the foods that you can pass this fork test with. Now, what can't you? Very simply, you can look specifically at things like lettuce, right? You can't squish lettuce with a fork. That's going to be harder for your stomach to break down and digest. You can't squish down red meat. That's going to be too hard to digest. So again, anything that can't be pressed down like that means that you're either going to have to chew it really, really well to a mush, or your stomach's going to have to spend a lot of time. That means you're going to have to spend a lot of energy, digestive enzymes, hydrochloric acid, bile to break down all of these food substances. If not, they're going to move through partially digested into your intestines. It's going to cause fermentation, gas, bloating, all the things that you don't want. So Robert, when you ask, does this always have to be followed? I would say, well, in the beginning, when you want yourself to be free of digestive-based issues and bloating, all these things, yes. But then after that, no, it doesn't have to be followed. Could it be followed, or should it be followed most meals, and especially with breakfast? Yes. Like oatmeal and berries and a smoothie and a green juice, like all those things are easy. Give your body an easy time with breakfast. Don't expend all of your energy first thing in the morning on that heavy meal, okay? Try to save that maybe for lunch, if you have some rest time afterwards or time to relax, you can take a little walk, or at dinner when you're going to be able to sit down and actually then use whatever's energy left to break down that food. So no, afterwards when you're feeling pretty good, I think there's always exceptions to every rule, right? And that means to me, like nuts. Nuts could be very healthy for a lot of people. Some people still just don't digest nuts very well, not because of how hard it is to break down, but because of the lectins and other things in the nuts themselves, the anti-nutrients as they're called, that a lot of people don't digest well. So you don't have to, but there are exceptions, of course, seeds and nuts being one of those specific things. And then also you could look at maybe some harder fruits, or maybe you're someone that wants to do some occasional red meat or something like that. That's up to you. I don't think that red meat really ever needs to be eaten, but you can make an argument if you are looking to eat it and it's coming from a grass-fed source, you can make that argument. So, Robert, I would say the majority of the time, try to get your foods to pass this test. Then once you're feeling healthy and well, you're going to certainly add back in, spinach and some good salads and things like that. Absolutely. And some nuts and seeds if that works for you. All right. Kristin is up next for our second question. Now, second question today is just a little bit longer, so I'm going to try to read it word by word for you. I think it's important. I'm not always able to read the questions word for word just because they take a little bit longer, but I thought this was important. So glad I found your podcast. What a wonderful resource. Thank you. Thank you, Kristin, for tuning in with that. Now, the question is, I'm dealing with what I assume to be a hormone imbalance after healing from severe adrenal fatigue. The only thing holding me back right now, health-wise, is terrible lady cycle symptoms associated with ovulation, breast tenderness, severe muscle fatigue, cravings, and during menstruation, breast tenderness, bloating, heavy bleeding, cramps, cravings, more muscle fatigue. I recently ordered a Dutch complete dried urine test, and much to my surprise, estrogen progesterone levels were within range, assuming major estrogen dominance. That means she was believing that she would have major estrogen dominance based on her symptoms. However, my testosterone was very low. I'm taking all the right steps in terms of addressing diet, blood sugar regulation, and reading Dr. Sarah Gottfried's books. Not exactly familiar with all of hers, but that's okay. We'll answer your question. But are there additional tests you can recommend to help my healing approach? And are there any missing pieces of the Dutch test? Okay, so good question, long question. Very, very simple, though. Kristin is experiencing what seems to be hormone-based irregularities. So she is absolutely dead on with assuming that there's some type of hormone-based dysregulation. Now, the issue is I've used the Dutch test myself. I don't use it right now because it's kind of a hit or miss with me. And I know it's a great test. I know there's really good research behind it, but I still get better results from using a saliva hormone test. To me, it's still the gold standard until something really beats it. I love the data. I love the charts. It's very nicely laid out, the Dutch test. But for me, I'm going to keep using the saliva-based tests. So if you haven't done a adrenal cortisol hormone test, I would simply go to stevencabral.com/store, and you can see the one that we recommend. It comes with all of my personal recommendations. After I get the readout, it comes with a call, follow-up call with our office as well to explain the results, to explain the protocol. It's fantastic. It goes for anyone with energy-based issues or hormone-based imbalances. Because, Kristin, here's the thing. What you didn't tell me was, what does your cortisol levels look like, and what do your DHEA levels look like? Because both of those are important as well. Because a lot of the issues can also stem from there being an imbalance between cortisol and DHEA. And also, when we look at the Dutch test as well, did you do the entire month or did you do 1 day snapshot? Because what happens is this. 1 day doesn't tell the whole picture. You could certainly have estrogen-based dominance still. You just didn't catch it on the one particular day. So it's kind of like one of those things. And I'm the worst with analogies, so I'll probably mess this one up. But if it sounds like a duck and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And so the thing is, we still have to pull that out, though. We can't assume that yet. But what I would say is we need to pull the foot off the gas pedal, which is the high stress, the high cortisol, so that we can also start producing more of that natural progesterone and make sure that cortisol isn't stealing all of your raw material from that progesterone, or at least quite a bit. So still, I recommend that saliva-based test. You're going to get great data from it without a doubt. And the other thing as well is you want to look at this, that it's not always just about trying to balance those hormones. It's also looking at the metabolites, meaning that are you reabsorbing estrogen-based metabolites from the colon because of constipation, not enough fiber, poor detoxification of those specific things. So I like to look at that. I really would recommend that saliva-based test. But also, if you said, I can't really afford to use nutritional supplements and do another saliva-based test, I would start using nutritional supplements to calm that fight or flight-based response, calm the adrenal-based response. If your energy is pretty good, you can assume that that's probably it. And start doing things to rebalance estrogen and progesterone and start tracking it. Is it 5 days before your first day of menstruation? Is it 7 days out? Does it start to just then go down to 1 or 2 days? So I would start to gauge it like that. The tough thing is, and I work with a lot of women in my practice on fertility and also hormone-based dysregulation, is that you have to wait a month every time, which is really tough to say, okay, do the symptoms get better? Do the symptoms get better? Because a lot of times it is just that 5 days or so before the first day of menstruation. So Kristin, hopefully that answers your question. I apologize. It's hard to answer every specific little detail because I don't have that. I spend 90 minutes with a person on my first consultation, 60, 90 minutes. So tough, but hopefully I helped you as best as I can right now. All right, Marie R. is up next. Marie R. asks, I love sweet greens and love their salads, and they have a new steelhead trout on the menu. Is that okay, even though it's farm raised? So this is a great question. Probably should be its own episode, but I'm going to try to go through it quickly because I have a little bit more research to do with sweet greens. So if you don't have a sweet greens in your area, essentially sweet greens is a place that you can go in. You can get an organic based salad. You can get some organic rice. You can get lots of great things to choose from. I think it really is a good company. They try to do a lot of great things. They took bacon off the menu. They took a lot of things off the menu that people would consider not to be so healthy, and they tried to add healthier options. So one of the things they did was add this thing called steelhead. It's a type of trout. There's actually many different varieties. This one is quite high in omega-3s. So it is one of the healthier types of fish. So here's the nice thing. Okay. So the nice thing that Sweet Greens is doing is this. They're making sure that their trout is certified organic, that is certified free of antibiotics, that is free of hormones, that is free of pesticides, that it's BAP certified, that it's as humanely raised as possible. So that's the great thing. I like that they're testing for all of these specific things. The thing that I don't see is this, that they don't tell you what the fish are being fed, and they don't tell you if they test for heavy metals. So those are the only two things. Now, keep in mind that the trout should not be high in mercury. It just shouldn't be. And the reason is, one is specific types of trout aren't going to be high in mercury in the first place, but also that it's most likely not being fed fish. That's the only thing. When you certify something in the wild as organic, that you know that it's being fed some type of organic-based products, right? So it's most likely being fed organic, maybe flax, maybe organic soy, organic corn. I'm not sure what they're feeding the fish. That's the issue. The good part of this is that you're going to have to make some relative choices in life. Now, I'm an idealist, which means that ideally, we only do things that are healthier for ourselves, that we only have great choices. But right now in the world that we live in, that's a big challenge. And a lot of times we have to make what I call relatively good choices, meaning like we have to make the best relative choice that we can given our situation. Now, if the choice is between a fast food burger, a piece of pizza, and I actually can't remember, but I know that I've seen it on Sweet Greens menu, which is like the OMG Omega. I think that is the name of this salad with a steelhead trout on it. And I am going to ask more about this. That is a better choice, meaning like this right now, it's a small piece of trout as well. It's probably like 3 or 4 ounces, that's it. But it's a better relative choice than the grain-fed, hormone-pumped full of all sorts of different estrogens and growth hormone burger with the wheat bun and the pizza with the fake cheese on top that comes from sick cows, or this nice little salad that is all organic and it has this farm-raised trout. So I believe in the future, we're not going to have a choice but to eat more farm-raised fish. And that's because we are out fishing all of our seas. By 2030, it's estimated that there will not be any fish left in the ocean for us to consume when it comes to salmon, bass, tuna, and cod. Those are not sustainable. They are being wiped out faster than they are being replenished. So it's very important that we look at this with an open mind. Now, I do not believe in eating GMO foods. I do not believe in eating farm fish. But if people are going to start doing farm-raised fish in a more sustainable way, I'm open to it. However, I do need to see what these fish are actually being fed. That's very, very important, because if the fish aren't healthy themselves, well, you certainly don't want to be eating disease-based fish yourself. So my answer to this question is this. For right now, until I find out what the fish are being fed, I would say that this is a pretty good relative choice when you cannot bring the food yourself from home, or when you have to choose between lesser options. Or one thing to keep in mind too is that this doesn't have to be obviously be an everyday type meal. This could be once a week that you're having this at Sweetgreens, and then sometimes you might be opting for a vegetarian option as well, where you're putting legumes or chickpeas or something like that on top for all your protein, and then you might be having some other type of protein at night if you decide that. So hopefully, Marie, this answers your question, and I believe, like I said, it can be a relatively good choice when looking at all of your options. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you once again, everyone, for tuning into the Cabral Concept. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.